Hey guys, we're going to be painting this vibrant sunset today, and we're going to be using about 6 different colors. So I have a blank canvas in front of me, and I'm going to walk you through step by step on how to do this beautiful painting by yourself. So what I have first to set up is I have an easel in the back. If you don't have an easel, you don't have to get anything fancy. You can lean your canvas behind a wall or on a dining table or against the dining table or anything that works convenient for you. I have a 16 by 20 canvas. You can use any size you want. This painting can be done in any size of canvas that you have available, or even a piece of paper. We are going to be using acrylic paint today. I have some paint from Basics. I got it from Michaels. You can get it from any store that you want to get it from. We're going to be using purple, red, yellow, blue, black, and white. And I have about 4 paintbrushes, and I say about because I'm not sure if we'll need to use all 4 of them, but I have a big flat brush, then I have a medium round brush, and then I have a small round brush and a detailed round brush. So if you can get something similar to it, whatever you have, you can make use of it. But if you can get something similar to it, you can follow along to my steps. So I have a blank plate. I am going to pour out my colors, so you can do the same. So I did dip my brushes in the water just for a little bit so they get nice and soft. The first brush that we're going to be using is the big flat brush that we have, the only flat brush that we have for this color. I also have a rag. If you have a paper napkin or something similar that you don't mind getting dirty, or something that you can throw away, I would suggest bringing it so you can take out the excess water. So the first color that we're going to be using is purple. So I wanted to make the purple a little brighter, so we're going to mix a little bit of blue with it. So take about 2 scoops of purple and a pinch, just a tiny bit of blue, and mix it in. I want the color to be a little more purpley rather than blue, so I am mixing more purple in until a little darker purple. So that's what I have, a little darker purple color. And I'm going to use the flat brush horizontally to do about 1.5 inches right at the top. So if you're going to be hanging this painting, I always tell my art class that if you're going to be hanging this painting in your living room or anywhere, I would suggest doing the sides of the canvas too, because it kind of helps with if you don't have a frame, your canvas looks more finished. It gives it a more finished look. But if you are going to get a frame, then you don't have to worry about the sides. So just go back and forth, big strokes, 1.5 inch above from the top. So acrylic paint is very forgiving. So if you do something that, very forgiving on the canvas, so let me state that. If you do something that you don't like accidentally, we can let it dry and then you can paint right over it. And the reason why I specified on the canvas is because if you get acrylic painting on your cloth or like a t-shirt that you're wearing, it's very hard to take off. It's not that you can't. If you get it on your cloth, immediately keep it wet until you're able to scrub it out with a toothbrush or something. But again, it's very hard to take out, so I would just wear old clothes when you're doing this. So I did about 1.5 inch of that, and then I have unfinished bottom. And I'm going to take my brush, and I'm not going to wash it, just because all of these colors are going to be blending in, so there's no need for me to wash the brush. the next color is going to be red. So I take a nice big scoop of red and I'm adding another 1.5 inches or so on the bottom, right immediately bottom of the purple, and then I'm going to blend it in with the purple. So again, big strokes and just blend in nicely. And an easy way to blend in is just going back and forth between the two colors, and it'll automatically blend in, I promise you. Unless you've waited about 10 minutes between doing the purple and the red, it should blend in just fine. So in case you decided to take a break between doing the purple and the red, if you did take a break, I would suggest you overlap and then take some purple and overlap right on top of the red, so it'll mix in with the fresh coat of paint. So what I'm going to do, if you can see my paintbrush, I have purple and my red, so I want to take that off because I want to put some more purple in so it can blend in. So dip it in the paintbrush and push it in. So always push in your brush. That's what makes the water come out, the paint come out really quickly. A lot of people always want to change their water frequently. You really don't need to change your water for the entire painting. So you can just push your brush in once or twice and then tap the excess water out and just take a cloth and wipe it down. Then I'm going to take my purple again, so the purple that we had made with that blue, I'm going to take that again and overlap it where the red is going until it blends in nicely. So overlap it with the red. So it creates a nice indigo color immediately, so you don't have to worry if the color changes. If you feel like you want more of that bluish purple color or violet color, if you want to call it, you can just again wash your brush out by squeezing the brush at the bottom, tapping out the excess water, using a napkin to take out the paint. You can just grab some of the purple and put a nice fresh coat of it. So again, you have that vibrant color right on the top. So what happens is a lot of us are perfectionists or want our painting to come out really nicely, so we just keep going on it over and over. You do have to be careful. You can overwork your painting, so once you've gotten a desired thing, don't keep rubbing your brush all over it over and over, because then you'll start seeing the streaks. So before the red dries out, what I'm going to do is grab some yellow. So just grab a good scoop of yellow, again using the same flat brush that we have, and right below it, but not touching the red, I'm going to put an inch of yellow. So right below, I'm not touching my red yet. So take some yellow. Go right on top of it. Now I'm going to, using the same brush without washing it, I'm going to grab some yellow and then I'm going to grab some red on the same brush. So I have red and yellow on the same brush, and I'm going to fill in the middle with that, so it's going to turn nice and orange for us. So it's okay if it covers up the yellow on the bottom, because then it'll go from red to orange to yellow. Feel free to completely cover the yellow because it will make it nice light orange on the bottom. It's okay if the sky looks different from right to left, because when we look at a sunset, the sky does not look the same on all sides, so it's okay for it to look a little different on both sides of the painting. It does not have to be symmetrical. So this is the orange that I have. You see how I went back and forth until the red and the yellow blended in. Don't worry, I know the yellow has kind of disappeared. So what we're going to do is now wash the brush and take a clean coat of yellow and then put it in up until what we want our desired horizon line to be. So the desired horizon line that we want, so I'm going to wash my brush by just pressing my brush in the water, tapping out the excess water, and then using a napkin. Take the yellow, and I want my the horizon line to be a little less than a half of the canvas. So right where you can picture where the half of the canvas might be. So if you look at it vertically, half would be here. I just want it just below it, so about an inch below it. So I'm going to make a little mark so I get an idea where I want to stop painting the yellow. And then I'm just going to horizontally paint the yellow throughout the entire thing, up until my horizon line. So if you're at home and you're doing this, and if I'm going a bit too quickly for you, just pause the video and take your time finishing up whatever color that you're at. So this way, you can spend your relaxing time doing this. I hope you're doing this with a nice environment, maybe with family, friends, or even just by yourself, with a glass of wine or beer or whatever makes you relax and give you some me time. So you can see how quickly the orange dried up. So if my orange has dried up and if your orange has dried up and you want to blend in a little more, just grab just a tiny bit, like a dot of red, and go back and forth between the orange and the red, yellow. Just a dot. So all I have is just a tiny bit of dot. And I'm gonna go back and forth right where the orange ended and the yellow started, just so it blends in nicely. If you noticed, I don't use much water with my paint just because it kind of lightens up the paint, and I want this to be vibrant, so very vibrant sunset. So if you want yours to be vibrant as well, I suggest you don't add any water to it. Now I am done with my sky. I'm happy the way it looks, so we're gonna move on to the ocean. So before we do that, we need to wash out our brush using the same technique that I showed you before. So now we have a nice clean brush. We're going to make some rolling hills into the horizon, but I don't want to do that right now just because it's with black color and I don't want to mix in black while the yellow is still wet. So we're going to work on the ocean. So it's basically going to be a reflection of this vibrant sky into the ocean. I know it sounds complicated, but it really isn't. It's very, very simple, very easy. So we're going to start opposite of the color. So we did yellow last from the sky. We're going to do yellow first. So the yellow is going to be centered. It's going to be around the center. So we don't need to leave any space between the horizon, but in order for you to know where the horizon ends and the ocean starts, you can leave just a tiny bit of space, but again, not too much. I'm going to just put the yellow right around the center. If you hear some birds in the background, those are real birds. We are outside in the nature, so you get to hear wonderful sounds of nature. So put fading away. The next color I'm going to take is make some orange. And when I say make, is I'm gonna just make some on my plate because I don't want to blend in the orange and the red, the yellow and the red, kind of like we did. So I don't have to clean out my brush between the yellow and the orange, yellow and red, because we're making the orange. So take a scoop of yellow and a scoop of red and then mix it in. And that should create your nice orangey color. If you want it to be a little lighter, you can add another scoop of yellow. So now I have this pretty orange color, and I'm going to put it around the yellow. And I'm going to use, I want a little bit of waves in my ocean, just because it's an ocean and not a lake. So I'm going to be using the stroke of X's. So all I'm doing is making little X's in some places, not all places. So what I mean by is I'm going to put the horizontal water, and if you want more strokes, you can hold your brush towards the smaller point, so this way rather than this way. So hold it towards the painting and it creates more strokes. You can overlap with the yellow so it blends in nicely. I don't have too much paint in my brush, and that kind of helps with doing a dry brush technique. So it's exactly what it sounds like. There's not too much paint, it's just a little bit of paint. So the dry brush gives it a nice stroke to the painting. I'm just gonna add more on the sides, some random ones on the bottom, which will overlap with the red that we will put in. Now the little X's that I was talking about, I don't want too much, it's just stroke. Take a little bit of paint and then just create little X's right on top of where the oranges were. And it gives a nice textured ocean. So it just seems like the waves are going to be crashing, or they're going in all different directions. You know, just like how a normal ocean is when you go in the water. I hope you have a beach near you or a lake that you can go swimming in so you can see real sunset. And then you can come home and enjoy your nice sunset that you painted. The X's don't have to be that obvious, it's just more of creating different brush strokes. Now I'm going to take my red. So I know it kind of looks haphazard. Some of the painting is done, some isn't. I don't need to wash my brush just because we're in the same color family. We're in the yellow, red, orange kind of thing. So I'm just gonna grab some red. It will overlap with the orange anyway. So I'm gonna grab some red and fill in the spots where it's white. So I don't need to do the bottom because there is going to be a land, but if it's easier for you, you can do the bottom. We'll let it dry and then we'll add in the land. So again, I'm using stroke that's pointing towards, so it creates different strokes. I'm using that part of the brush. I'm just going back and forth quickly. It'll mix in nicely with the orange. I don't want to completely cover my orange because I do want that to be a reflection of the sky. So try not to completely cover your orange up, but more of a blend. And again, an easy way to blend is just going back and forth on top of the two colors. Where the two colors meet, you just go back and forth. orange does not completely cover the red, or my red doesn't completely cover the orange. I am going to create some more brush strokes so it doesn't just look like a blob. So wash out your brush for that. So what we're going to do after washing our brush is just let the canvas dry for about 5 minutes. Yeah, that's all it takes for pretty much acrylic paint to dry up. So I would give it about 5 minutes. So you can pause the video here for 5 minutes, maybe go get another drink or go to the bathroom or something. And then we're going to add in some waves. So we're finally gonna give this big flat brush a break, and we're going to take the small round brush, not the detailed one. Detailed one is the smallest one. This is the second smallest round brush, and I'm going to dry it up. It was in my water, so it's just getting wet. I'm gonna dry it up. So it's been about 5 minutes now, and what I'm going to do is take some yellow first of all, and I'm going to add in horizontal one lines throughout the yellow and red, not too much, just a little bit throughout the yellow and red to add in some reflection waves. So I just give it a nice soft, very soft. So hold the brush like a pencil and don't put too much weight in. So you know how we're putting a lot of weight on the top when we're just making big strokes? Here we're not putting that much weight in, just holding it lightly, very lightly, and just adding in little lines in the red and the orange for waves. And I'll show you a close-up just in a minute. If your painting's a little wet, don't worry about it. Just keep adding the waves. They'll blend in, creating a little orange. So to get a closer view, you could see some of the yellow waves throughout the painting, throughout the ocean. Now I'm happy with the yellow that I have so far, so I'm going to wash out my brush, and next I'm going to add in my red waves, red color waves. So washed out my brush, get a little bit of red, so just a tiny bit of red, you know. And so you can start by adding the red waves, just a little bit in the yellow portion of the ocean, and then some in the orange portion of it. It'll be harder to see in the video for the orange portion, but I'll try my best to show it to you in a close-up. So add some red. So again, if your brush gets dry, just go with that and use the dry brush technique. You know, it's a new fancy technique that you've learned this class, and just add that in. It will give it a nice texture to your waves. So that, I believe, is enough of the red. So I'm going to take my brush again, wash it out, make or take some orange. So if you don't have any orange left, again, it's 1 scoop of red, 1 scoop of yellow, and just make some orange color. An easy way to tell if your orange color is made is that it looks lighter than the red. Very simple. Very, very simple. If you want it even lighter, just add a little bit more yellow to it to give it a light orange shade. So I have about a little bit of lighter orange than what my painting has. And I'm going to do, I have too much paint in my brush, so I'm going to wipe it off in my napkin. If you don't have that issue, you don't have to wipe it off. But just take a little bit, appropriate amount of paint on your brush, and just add in some orange waves in the red and then the yellow, so it can show up very vividly. So just a little. In the red just because the red kind of seemed plain. You can, if you feel like at the same time that you don't have enough yellow, just grab you don't have to wash the brush, just grab a little bit of yellow and just start adding in the yellow waves in the red. Now I'm going to, you can see the waves I've added in. I'm going to let the painting dry because the next color that I want to add is in the purple waves. And I don't want the purple to mix with the red, so I'm going to let it dry for about 5 to 7 minutes. So a good way to tell if your painting is completely dry is always, well, first of all, the easiest way is by touching it. But if you don't want to ruin your painting, you can see if any of the paint is shiny, and if it is, then it's still wet, and I would give it a few minutes before you start. So yeah, let's wait for about 7 minutes. So now let's add in some purple waves. I know it sounds weird, but it's going to look really nice because it's going to be a reflection of our vibrant sky. So I'm going to take some original purple that I had from the bottle without the blue mixed in. If you don't have that, easy way to make purple is blue and red. And depending on if you want a darker color or a lighter color, you can add in some white, you can add in more blue or more red. So you can play around with it. So just like how I did with the yellow, orange, and red, I'm going to add a little bit of purple waves here and there. Not too much because I don't want the water to be too much purple, just like how the sky is not too much purple. So just soft little waves just a tiny bit of purple, as you can see. I'm gonna wash my brush now. I'm also going to add in some white waves. And the reason why I'm going to add in some white waves is because right on the top here, we're going to create some clouds. So I want the reflection of the clouds in the water as well. So just a little bit of white waves as well, using the same brush. Also add in some yellow, we'll give it a nice pop. Waves. So you can see how softly I do the brush. It's very, very soft touches. If you feel like you got too much of one color, you can always cover it up with the previous color. I'm going to wash out my brush, and now I'm going to use the large round brush that we have, and I'm going to take some white, but only a little bit. So here we're going to use the dry brush technique again. It's only a little, just a tiny bit of white. And to create the clouds, what I use is I almost think of them as like little cotton balls, and just create a big circle and then some random shaped circles around it, but there's one primarily big circle. It doesn't have to be in the middle, but it's just one is big while the others are smaller. So they could also be flat circles. Does not have to be perfectly round, so it kind of gives it an outline shape of my cloud. And I take a little bit more paint if you need it, and then just paint around it by just dabbing it. So this is what I mean by dabbing. You just go like just dab, like just tapping your brush lightly in the shape that you're trying to form. I will leave some space just because I don't want the cloud to be fully filled in. I also don't want the outline of my circles showing, so I definitely try to cover that up, because I don't want it to look like little round balls. Because I want it to look like a cloud, like a real cloud. In some areas and less white in others to create like a dark and a light spot. So that's cloud number one. If you don't want your clouds to be so white, you can take some of our colors that we have used. So if your background is orange here, you can take some of the orange color and dab in it so it looks like the cloud is light and fluffy going through the sky. So I'm just dabbing along, just soft movement. It takes takes a while, but trust me, it makes the cloud look really nice and dreamy. Now I'm going to make a small baby cloud right here. So one thing you always want to remember when you're looking at any instructional painting, even if you're doing this in person, like at a wine and paint class, or if you're doing this at home or with a party, this is your painting. So you know, own up to it. You can customize it however you want. If you don't like clouds, or if you're not good at making clouds, you can skip them altogether. If you want a stormy cloud, you can make it a stormy cloud, big cloud, small cloud. Again, a painting should represent who you are. So make it your own. Definitely make it your own. So I didn't really draw circles for this cloud just because I wanted it more to be a floating, you know, just floating little cloud below the main cloud. And I'm going to draw one big cloud and two little clouds below it on the other side of the painting. Got my circles again, and I'm going to do the dab to fill them in. I don't have to, again, just remember with the dry brush, not have too much paint on your brush. You can always take it off by wiping it on the napkin or on your plate. I want this cloud to be big, but I also want to be able to see the sky behind it. So I'm going to leave some of that orange spots that I see in the back. I'm going to add in some small baby clouds here, just dabbing in random shapes. So I'm happy with my clouds, the way they look. I am sure your clouds are looking beautiful as well. I'm going to put this brush away because I don't need to do white anymore. The next thing we're going to do is draw in the horizon line, have some rolling hills, draw in some land right here, again with baby hills, and then finally put on some nice palm trees to go with our beautiful sunset. So the color that we'll use to make the land and the horizon is black, and we're going to use I'm going to use the small round brush first, just because it'll be easier to make the outline, and then if you feel comfortable we can use the big round brush to make it color it in. So since we're using the color black, I just want you, since it's a darker color, I just want you to be a little bit more careful when drawing these lines. Again, it's acrylic, so we can erase anything, not erase, but fix anything by painting over it once it dries. It's just the black, it's a little bit harder just because it's a darker color. So to make the horizon first, what we're going to do is make the line below the above the ocean line. So you see the blank space that I have. I'm going to draw one straight line, as straight as possible, across the canvas. Again, take your time doing this. And even if it's not straight, it's alright, because you know, all land isn't flat unless you're in a flat country land. You don't have to get perfectionist. If you really want to, you can grab a ruler or a straight edge paper and draw the line. Might be easier. Holding the brush like a pencil and drawing the line by overlapping it is very easy to do with the paintbrush. It's okay if it's going up above your ocean. The black will cover it, so we'll be fine. So here's my straight, almost straight line. As you can see, it's not perfectly straight, and that's perfectly alright because it is land. It doesn't need to be. Now we're going to draw the little small rolling hills with different heights. On the top, it's going to go right above the yellow, not too much into it, but right above it, so it'll cover up this blank space once we fill it in. So I want a little hill. I don't want my mountains or land to be pointy, so I'm going to make them rolling hills. Don't worry about filling it in. We'll do that after we've drawn the outline. If it's easier for you to use the detailed brush, and I'll show it to you, that was the very tiny brush that we haven't used yet. You can try it. Seems a little easier. So you see how I have some blank space where the yellow should be? What we're going to do is we're just going to go back in with the yellow and fill it in, so that way we don't have blank white space. So I really want the outline to be single line, so if you have some overlaps, this is the time to fix it in. Get a nice single layered outline, and then the easy part is just filling it in with black paint. There's the desired outline for this. I am going to fill in the yellow before I do the outline, just in case the yellow overlaps. So I want to keep using this black brush, so I'm going to just leave it on the side on my plate, and then take the medium or any brush that's available. I don't suggest the big flat brush just because it might be too big for the area. I'm going to take in some plain yellow and fill in that any white space where the mountains aren't going. you see how the black and the yellow kind of mixes in, and then it created that light gray color right here? I'm just going to fill that in with black so you won't even notice it. I wanted to show you that because that might happen to your painting, and I want you to know how to fix it. I'll do that. Actually, I'm gonna let the yellow dry, and I'm gonna do that at the end, and I'm gonna fill in my mountains with black now. So this is the fun part. You're just coloring inside the lines like you did in primary or kindergarten. This time, please actually do color it in the lines because it'll be easier and you won't have to do any fixing. You can use any brush that you feel comfortable with. I'm using the small brush, small round brush, just because I already have it with black paint, and I would rather put in some detailed strokes rather than hurrying up and getting black all over my painting. So take your time with this. I'm gonna go in and fix that little yellow blending that we had going on. That's it. That was an easy fix. I see some blank. So there you go. That's your horizon. See how much more complete it looks with that. Now, another easy part with this black paint, easy but detailed, is we're gonna draw in some ground, and that's also going to be a little, you know, in some areas bigger than others, and then we're gonna fill it in black. So let's do the outline. So I want this area on the side to be a little higher than the other area. Then I want this to be like almost a shape like a rock. So I'm going to do like a semicircle. Then this can be flat. So same thing we did with the yellow. If you have any blank space that's left, we'll cover it up with red here. So don't worry about that. So I'm happy with the shape I have. What I'm going to do next is, just like how we did with the yellow, I'm going to take another brush and fill the reds in. So if there's any mistakes we make, we can quickly fix them. So I did my best to fill it in with the red. So using the same brush, so I have my biggest round brush, not the flat, the biggest round. I'm going to clean it off and I'm going to use that to fill in the black just because it's a bigger surface area and it'll be much quicker to use that. So just use horizontal, one-way strokes, don't go up and down, don't go side by side, just one stroke. So there's your land. Look how much nicer our painting looks. Now we have to add in the finishing touches to add in the palm trees, and the painting will be complete. It looks so nice. I'm sure yours look really nice too. I really want to see your paintings in the comments. So if you guys could put it in, I would love to see them because I'm sharing mine. I want to see yours so I can see how nice it looks. I'm going to wash my brush and actually I'm just going to use one of those smaller brushes that we had the black paint in, and if you don't have it, just use either the small round brush or the detailed brush to make the palm trees. I know it seems daunting, it already looks so nice, but the palm trees are really going to make it perfect. So I only want to add in 2 palm trees and I want them to be crisscross, so one going here and one going there. I want to give you some options. If you want to add in maybe 3 palm trees, another option could be doing a smaller palm tree going here and then crisscrossing to here, and then a bigger palm tree leaning in this way. If you want to do 4, you can do 2 crisscross here and then 2 crisscross here. I would not recommend putting anything more than 4 just because then it's going to be overcrowding. So I'm going to do 2. You are more than welcome to do more than 2 or less than 2. If you only want 1, you can add in 1. So to start with the trunk of the tree, it's going to be a little thicker and then it's going to be really narrow on the top. We do a curved line, so the palm trees are curved, so you don't have to worry about the straight, making a straight line. So this should be an easier part. I'm going to pick the second hill right here to start the trunk of the palm tree. And you see how I do it in one motion? You can take your time and do it in multiple motions if you want. My paint kind of runs out at the top, and that's okay because I just want to get an outline for my trunk before I paint it inside and make it all perfect. So towards the top, I don't really, both of the lines kind of blend in. It will become thicker. We just want it to blend it in at the top. Now we're going to use the same brush. I don't want to use a bigger brush just because it's a narrow area. I'm going to fill it in and then define. As I fill it in, I'm going to define the outline. So defining meaning it's going to get a little bigger than what you already have right now, but since a trunk can be any size, it's okay if it gets a little bigger. You just don't want it this big. So always start off narrower, and then we can add in more volume as we go. Again, use one, just a vertical motion of going up and down for the paintbrush. Don't go sideways, so the strokes look evened out. If you need to use a detailed brush right at the top, you can. You don't have to. I'm not using it. So here's my trunk. I'm pretty happy with it. I am going to draw in the leaves, or the branches, I should say. For the branches, I do want to use the smallest brush. So the most detailed brush you have, I want you to take in the paint, and now on the side of your, I'll show this to you, on the side of your plate or your napkin, I want you to roll the brush in its place. What it's going to do is it's going to remove the excess paint and make it fine pointed straight brush. And we need that because we don't want to blob for a branch. We want a nice pointed brush. Again, it doesn't have too much paint, so it might come off as dry, but that's okay because we can always fill it in after. I want about 5 branches, so let's see how it comes out. They lean. It's almost like a big semicircle. So it kind of looks like a flower, and that's okay. Now we're going to add in the leaves. The leaves are going to be on the bottom, so the bottom of each branch. So for this, it'll be here, because leaves can't be pointed up just because of how gravity works. They'll be pointed down, and the leaves are just little lines that come out. So they're just little. Follow the shape of your branch, and there are little tiny lines that come out. They're just lines. There's nothing hard about that. Very, very easy. The finer lines you make, the better it looks. So I hold the brush almost like a pencil to make the lines. I will show you a close-up just in a moment. So you see the close-up with leaves. There are little tiny lines following the branch. So I'm going to show it for another one right here. You can leave some space between each leaf. every time you put it, get some paint, make sure you take off the excess paint from the brush. And there's your first palm tree. Now the second one is going to be leaning this way. I do want it a little higher than this one. So I'm gonna have the trunk come out a little higher. It's going to be drawn the same exact way, except it's going to be leaning on the opposite side. And again, I draw from the second rolling hill just because it gives it a nice even space. This one, the trunk at the bottom is not as thick as the other one, and that's perfectly alright. You can make it thinner or wider for your preference. I just wanted it to be a little different than the other one, so both of the trees don't look the same. Just like having nature, both of the trees don't look the same. Draw the branches, take out the excess paint, so you have a nice lean top of the brush. I might, since it's a bigger tree, I might actually add in 6 branches just to make it look more fuller. Start adding in the leaves. Take off any excess paint. Since it's a bigger tree, if you want to add in bigger leaves, feel free to make a little longer lines. since this one is kind of straight, it's hard to decide if you want to do the leaves on the right or the left. I am going to choose towards where the branch is going to bend and to make the leaves there. Either side, neither of them will be an issue just because the branch is pointing straight up. But if you want to make it lean on one or the other side, feel free to. Painting of our vibrant sunset in the palm trees. If you wanted to add in any extra details like a word or two, you're more than welcome to do so. But I think the painting looks just fine, just the way it is. I can't wait to see yours. Please share it with somebody who might enjoy doing similar painting or this very painting. Please leave your comment on what you thought about this. Give it a thumbs up if you like it, and for similar content, definitely subscribe. I hope you all had a relaxing afternoon, morning, or evening, wherever you are, painting with me. Thank you, and see you all next time.